What's up, guys? It's Seawolf. Today I've got kind of a different video for you today. Was trying to think of a video to make. I hadn't posted one in a little while and really thought about how some of my videos are about knives, and this video is going to be about how do you know what knife to pick. Do you need a long knife, a heavy knife, a short knife, a thin slicing knife? How do you know what to use? I'm not going to go into each and every one of these knives, but I just wanted to show you guys some knives that I have and kind of give you the premise of what you should be thinking about while you're trying to find a knife. Because you may think you want something like a belt knife for outside, and then you end up realizing, well, that wasn't for me. I needed a everyday carry knife. So what I want to show you guys to kind of help with that decision is I made this chart, and for kind of like our starting point, you're going to have a knife that's 90 thousandths thick and 3 inches long. That's about the thickness of a Mora and about the length of your standard flipper pocket knife. Hopefully my pencil will stay charged long enough. So all I want to show you guys is the correlation between some of the attributes you're going to have in a knife just to help you make the decision. So let's take this RTAC 2. It's like 1/4 of an inch thick and about 11 inches long. So if you're thinking about buying something like that, you've got something that's 1/4 of an inch thick and 11 inches long. What this quadrant is, this is like a chopper. You've got a chopper right here. It's going to be really heavy. So that may be good for like if you're in the woods or wanting kind of like a survival knife or an all-in-one knife, because you're not going to be able to do detailed work with this. Not easily, at least. But you can chop, you can take down trees, you can almost use it as like a small machete. But if short and thin, so something like this is a short little MSK by Tops. It's relatively thin. It's got about a 2.7 inch blade. So it's short and it's relatively thin. I'll put it about up here because it's probably a little thicker than 90 thousandths. So the short is going to give you some detail work, and the thickness, because it's a little bit thicker than a thin knife, you're going to get some robustness. I'm not even sure if that's a word, but basically it just means it's going to be difficult to break. You can pry on this and it's not going to break very easily. But let's say you want to do super detailed work with something thin, like this case knife. It's extremely thin and very short. That's going to put you down here. If I had to guess, this thing is maybe, I don't even know, it might be a 32nd of an inch thick, and it's incredibly short. So right here is where you're going to get your detail work, but there is no robustness. So what would you use a knife like that for? Something like these cases are great for like a very non-threatening knife, like something you want to put in your pocket. If you're wearing slacks, you can still open boxes. You can do, honestly, what most of the stuff you're going to do day to day, you could do with this knife. Opening boxes or popping open a bag or something for food. This right here is going to do 80% of what you need, and it's extremely, I mean, no one is going to be threatened by this. It's tiny. It's a great little knife. But this is going to be almost useless in the woods because you can't baton with it, you can't pry on it, it's super thin. It's really a collector's knife, even though it's a beautiful knife. So something like a Mora is in the center of our graph. It's got a relatively long blade at about 4 inches and a 90 thousandth spine, which is thick enough that it's pretty robust. You can pry on it. I mean, you don't want to stand on it, but it's also thin enough that you can get some detail work. And it's got the length, a short length, to where if you need to, you can choke up on it for skinning. It's long enough that you can fillet a fish with it. It's just a great knife, and I'm not trying to sell a Mora. I'm just saying, if you guys are looking for a knife, a fixed blade specifically, before you spend $100, $200, $300 on a knife, buy you a knife like this. Buy a cheap knife, a Mora or some other knife that is close to the range of what you're thinking, and just get a feel for it. Go outside and use it and see if, well, I thought I needed this, but I needed this. You just won't know that until you use something, and I suggest doing that on something cheaper. And I know this is kind of a different video, but I really do hope that this helps you guys, because there's tons of videos, tons of research you can do on knives, but it really boils down to this relatively simple chart. The thicker the knife and the longer the knife, the heavier it's going to be and the less you're going to want to carry it day to day. But it's going to be more capable in a survival situation, or a situation where you're wanting to chop down trees or in the woods or whatever. So if you're into that, that's your thing. Personally, I carry this every single day. I can't chop with it, but I can cut with it. And if I want to go bushcraft or something, I can still beat on this thing a little bit, do some batoning or whatever, and make some feather sticks. It's just a good little knife. But you have to do what works for you. If you're outside and you're doing a lot of hunting or fishing, stuff like that, you could not use this to baton because it's super thin. But this makes an incredible food processing knife. It's a buck. I can't even remember the model of it. It's about a $20 buck knife, stainless steel. I just use this for prepping food. So this video is ultimately to say, just think about what you're going to use the knife for. Don't get so infatuated with how beautiful a knife is or how collectible it is. Knives are meant to be used, and they can be beautiful and fun. You know, like, I think this is a pretty knife. But ultimately, think about what you want to use the knife for. Do you want something heavy you can chop with, or do you need some detail work? And then finally, this is kind of the curveball. You may not even need a pocket knife. You may need to get something like a multi-tool. It's got a knife on it. You can't baton with it. It's not going to be as flashy, I guess, as a folder pocket knife. But there's a lot of times day to day you just need to pry on something or pull on it or whatever, and you can use pliers. So I hope this video helps you guys. I hope to get back to some of the more normal stuff. It was kind of rainy here today, so I couldn't do anything outside. I plan on doing a review of this Tops MSK very, very soon, and I always appreciate you guys' views. Thanks for the subscriptions. I've seen some growth recently. Thanks, you guys. See you in the next one.